The Nikon Z90 has become something rare in modern camera culture, a product that does not exist, yet refuses to disappear. It lives in rumor threads, YouTube comment sections, and private conversations among longtime Nikon shooters. Unlike short-lived leaks that flare up and fade away, the Nikon Z90 has endured for years, growing more symbolic with each passing product cycle. As 2025 edges closer to its final chapter, the question is no longer just when the Nikon Z90 will arrive, but whether it ever truly will. To understand why the Nikon Z90 continues to matter, it helps to revisit the emotional weight behind it. This rumor is not driven by curiosity alone. It is fueled by legacy. Nikon once ruled the high-performance APS-C category with confidence, and no camera embodied that dominance more clearly than the D500. The D500 was not a compromise for those who couldn't afford full frame. It was a deliberate choice for photographers who needed speed, reach, and durability above all else. Wildlife shooters relied on it in remote environments. Sports photographers trusted it under pressure. It earned its reputation not through marketing hype, but through reliability in the field. When Nikon pivoted toward mirrorless, expectations were shaped by that history. The Z mount promised faster communication, modern autofocus systems, and optical designs that surpassed what was possible in the DSLR era. Naturally, many assumed the spirit of the D500 would be reborn in mirrorless form. A professional DX body with modern internals felt not only logical, but inevitable. That imagined successor slowly took on a name, the Nikon Z90. What followed instead was silence, paired with a very different strategy. Nikon's first APS-C mirrorless offering, the Z50, was compact, approachable, and clearly aimed at enthusiasts and beginners. It was followed by the ZFC, which leaned heavily into retro aesthetics and lifestyle appeal. Both cameras were successful within their niches, but neither attempted to replace the role once held by the D500. For professionals who relied on APS-C for serious work, the message was clear: Nikon was no longer speaking directly to them. This absence is where the Nikon Z90 rumor gained strength. Over time, it transformed from a vague possibility into a fully imagined product. Enthusiasts began defining what the Nikon Z90 should be, filling the void left by Nikon's silence. These imagined specifications became more detailed with each year. A high-resolution APS-C sensor. Blazing fast burst speeds. A deep buffer. In-body image stabilization. Autofocus technology derived from Nikon's flagship mirrorless cameras. Professional weather sealing. Dual card slots. Advanced video features suitable for hybrid shooters. The Nikon Z90 became less of a rumor and more of a collective design brief. Yet every year followed the same pattern. Excitement would build. Speculation would intensify. And Nikon would announce something else entirely. Another full-frame body. Another premium lens. Another firmware update. Never the Nikon Z90. Over time, frustration replaced anticipation. For many, the silence began to feel intentional. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry moved forward decisively. Canon identified a clear opportunity in the high-performance APS-C mirrorless space and delivered the EOS R7, a camera that checked many of the boxes Nikon users were still waiting for. Fujifilm continued to double down on APS-C as its core identity, refining both bodies and lenses with a long-term commitment that inspired confidence. Sony, while focused heavily on full frame, maintained a presence across multiple segments. Nikon, by contrast, appeared increasingly concentrated on one direction only. That direction was full frame. The Z9 marked a turning point for Nikon. It was bold, uncompromising, and unapologetically professional. The Z8 followed, bringing flagship performance into a more compact form. The ZF showed Nikon's ability to blend heritage with modern technology. These were not random releases. They reflected a company narrowing its focus, prioritizing areas where it could compete most effectively and profitably. APS-C, particularly at the high end, did not seem to fit into that equation. From a business standpoint, this strategy is understandable. Full-frame cameras command higher prices, stronger margins, and greater prestige. APS-C occupies an increasingly awkward position in the market. Entry-level buyers are absorbed by smartphones. Professionals often gravitate toward full-frame for perceived quality and low-light advantages. The middle ground, once APS-C's strongest territory, has shrunk. Investing heavily in a professional DX camera like the Nikon Z90 would require Nikon to swim against these currents. There is also the issue of internal competition. A true Nikon Z90, done properly, would not be cheap. To honor the D500 legacy, it would need high-end components and robust build quality. Price too low, it would undercut its own development costs. Price too high, it would creep dangerously close to cameras like the Z8. At that point, Nikon risks creating a product that competes not with rivals, but with itself. Lens support further complicates the situation. Nikon's DXZ mount lens lineup remains limited and largely consumer-oriented. A professional APS-C camera demands professional lenses, fast telephotos, rugged zooms, compact primes. Without them, the Nikon Z90 would rely heavily on full-frame glass, negating the size and weight advantages that draw photographers to APS-C in the first place. Building a serious DX lens ecosystem would require long-term commitment, something Nikon has not publicly demonstrated. Still, logic alone does not explain why the Nikon Z90 rumor refuses to die. The reason is simple: the use case still exists. Wildlife and sports photographers continue to value APS-C for its reach advantage. A 400mm lens behaves like a 600mm equivalent on a crop sensor, without the size, weight, or cost of extreme telephoto lenses. For photographers working in the field, this matters. APS-C is not inferior, it is different. And for certain disciplines, it remains the better tool. This is where emotion and practicality collide. Nikon's longtime users are not asking for nostalgia. They are asking for continuity. They want the philosophy behind the D500 to survive in a mirrorless world. The Nikon Z90 represents that hope. Its absence feels not just like a missing product, but like a break in trust between brand and user. Time, however, is not on the Z90's side. The longer Nikon waits, the harder it becomes to re-enter the conversation. The photographers who once waited patiently have already made decisions. Some switched systems. Some adapted to full frame. Some moved to brands that showed clearer commitment to APS-C. Launching the Nikon Z90 now would not be about meeting pent-up demand, it would be about rebuilding it. Pricing expectations further narrow the window. A Nikon Z90 priced around the mid-range would face direct competition from established cameras with mature ecosystems. To succeed, Nikon would need more than impressive specs. It would need a roadmap, lens support, and reassurance that APS-C has a future within the Z system. Without that, the Z90 risks becoming a one-off experiment rather than a pillar of the lineup. And so the silence continues. Nikon has not denied the Nikon Z90. But it has not acknowledged it either. No teasers. No roadmap mentions. No subtle hints in interviews. In an industry where companies often signal future plans well in advance, this silence is meaningful. It suggests that if the Nikon Z90 exists at all, it is not a priority. For now, however, the Nikon Z90 remains exactly where it has been for years, suspended between logic and longing. Talked about endlessly. Defined in detail. Confirmed by no one. Until Nikon breaks its silence, the Nikon Z90 will continue to live not on store shelves, but in imagination.